From WFRV TV, Local 5, serving Northeast Wisconsin, including Green Bay, Fox Cities, and the Lakeshore. This is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning and welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. So many Americans are dealing with mental health issues these days. It could be you or perhaps a loved one, maybe somebody you know. It could be an anxiety disorder, a bipolar disorder, depression, and usually we think in terms of adults. But what about the kids? What are they going through these days on a day-to-day basis? That's what this morning's program is all about. And joining me this morning from Catalpa Health is Scott Radke, Catalpa's Chief Clinical Officer, and Catalpa's President and CEO, Dr. Tracy Gayu. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of the mental health issue, tell me about Catalpa. What do you do? Who are you?
We are a pediatric and adolescent mental health center, and we provide services, comprehensive services. So we might provide psychiatric services to manage medications, therapy service for what you might consider to be therapy. And then we also provide a number of other services, whether it's therapy in the school-based setting, at our clinic, via telehealth. We just are really interested in helping children deal with mental health issues and develop coping strategies and skills they can use throughout their lives.
And you've been in operation for how long now?
About 11 years now. We opened, we're a collaboration with the greater Fox Valley community, along with the health systems of Theta Care, Children's Wisconsin, and Ascension, Wisconsin, to come together and to provide better, higher quality care for children in the Fox Valley region.
And where are you located?
Appleton, is our primary clinic,
Okay.
and then we also have an office in Oshkosh, and then we provide telehealth services really throughout greater Wisconsin.
And we're embedded in also 40 schools throughout the Fox Valley region to provide mental health clinicians in school, so kids don't have to leave school to get care. They can get it right while they're at school.
And what do you have for staffing?
We've got about 125 team members at Catalpa who are all dedicated to providing the highest quality care. I mean, of the original 25 members who were on board with Catalpa, we still have 18 or so on board, Very committed.
And both of you, your backgrounds. Dr. Tracy, how did you get here?
I was trained as a psychologist and a behavior analyst. I've been in pediatric behavioral health, but specifically geared toward autism spectrum disorders. And I came to Catalpa Health about 2.5 years ago as their new CEO and president when their former CEO retired.
And where was school?
I'm a UCLA Bruin.
That's okay. You're allowed to say
Okay,
you're at least in the same league, okay? All right.
That's right.
Scott, your path to where you are.
I grew up in the Fox Valley. I went to school to become a licensed professional counselor. Started my work working with adults. And I found myself really keying into working with kids, because even in working with adults, I would find that a lot of these adults were having mental health issues as kids, but didn't get treatment for that at that time. So, as my professional life went on, I started working with families younger and younger, and led me to Catalpa.
And how did the idea come up? Which of you came up with the idea? Who came up with the idea of this helping families and kids with mental health issues? Because normally it's adults.
Well, I think that it was in response to a community crisis. There were several deaths by suicide before Catalpa began, and some very concerned community members approached these 3 healthcare systems and said, we need to do a better job for our children. And powerful community members and people at the very top of the 3 healthcare systems got together and really tried to figure out how they, even as competitors, could come together and provide a service and support an organization that really just catered to kids and adolescents.
And how many do you serve?
We serve around 8,500 kids every year for mental health therapy, psychological testing, or psychiatric services, medication management.
close to 60,000 appointments a year.
A year. And you mentioned also earlier that you're in schools?
Yes.
40 schools?
Yeah, around 40 schools. This is an initiative that started soon after we opened. We started getting involved in school-based services. And the reason for that is there are some families that, because of barriers, can't make it to our clinic locations. You know, the parents might have multiple jobs, they might not have reliable transportation. So the thought is, what if we could bring the services to where kids are? And where kids are most of the time is in schools. Another advantage to that is kids are with their teachers more hours during the day than they are with their parents. So that allows for greater collaboration in terms of like how are kids doing in school and better partnership that way also. And again, I think the number one reason is we want kids in school for as long as possible. We learned that in COVID really clear that they do better if they're there. And if we can provide care in schools, it's less time out of instruction.
Mental health for kids and their families. We are back with much more with Catalpa Services. Please stay with us. Back now with Scott Radke and Dr. Tracy Gayu from Catalpa Health. We're talking kids' mental health this morning. You're a 501c3. How are people paying for these services?
Well, it's a mix. So we do have some patients who have commercial insurance, and it goes through their health insurance plans. We do have about 50% of our patient population and about 60% of our psychiatry patient population are on Medicaid or have no insurance.
Okay.
So we do raise funds to try and support those services.
Okay. How does this process start? Who's coming to you? Who's calling you? Who's on the other end of that line?
Yeah, a lot of times it is parents that are calling that maybe they're noticing that something is concerning with their child. Sometimes it is teachers letting parents know that they should get services. And a lot of times it's their family physicians. So we do a lot of partnerships with primary care doctors, pediatricians, and there are referral sources.
Okay, so the voice on the other end of the line says, "Hi, I'm calling you because." What are you hearing?
Yeah, usually it's because they are noticing something like my child is anxious or is having trouble going to school or having some other difficulties. Sometimes it's even more desperate than that, like they might have found out that their child is having thoughts of hurting themselves or maybe engaging in self-injurious behavior, and they're reaching out to try to get help. Not sure what exactly they need, but just calling us to get some direction as soon as they can.
And have they been referred to you, or do they dig you up on the internet? Is it word of mouth? How are you getting people?
Well, I think that, as Scott said, we do get a lot of self-referrals from parents, but Catalpa has a really strong reputation for being dedicated to providing these services for children and their families. And I think we get a lot of referrals from people who are aware of us or have heard, via word of mouth about what we do and what we offer. And, kids these days, I'm probably giving you too much about my age, but they struggle with much more than I dealt with when I was younger, right?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
The world and the state of the world, the worries they have are much larger than they were when I was a young child. So they worry about the environment, they worry about the politics, they worry about these wars going on, they worry about going to university and the riots that are happening and the protests that are happening. There's a lot going on for them, and particularly since COVID, children have learned that they don't necessarily need to be in class to learn the material. And so when you've got a lot of anxiety and you avoid things that are challenging for you, we're seeing more school refusal now. So I think we're dealing with much more in the way of significant mental health issues with our children today.
So when you get that call from the parent, the concerned person, what's the next step for them and what's the next step for you?
Certainly we want to get people in as soon as we can. We have a target of we'd love to get people in within 5 days of the call.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we know that when parents call, when a family member calls, they might already at that point being at the end of their rope, you know. So they are looking for solutions really quickly. So we want to get that child, get that family in front of a mental health clinician as soon as possible to do an evaluation and help the family determine what could be our approach to addressing, you know, the issues that they're coming in to talk about today.
Let me touch on some of the issues that Dr. Gayu touched on briefly that you provide. First of all, mental health. What do you do in that area?
Well, I mean, you're the professional here in terms of our
Yeah.
therapeutic.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, that it looks a lot different. You know, I think with a physical injury, it's always really clear, like, you know, someone has a broken leg or some other physical condition. With mental health issues, it's really difficult sometimes. Kids sometimes aren't open with their parents as far as what's going on and their worries. They may be more open with their peers. Sleep problems are something that sometimes come up. And we all know if kids don't get enough sleep or adults don't get enough sleep, it can cause a cascade of other problems. You know, and it's important for families to know that as soon as you recognize that there might be a problem, it's important that you call someone. Because there's a couple things that we know with mental health. One, treatment works if we can get kids the right treatment. And we also know the sooner we can identify difficulties, you know, if we're thinking about it in terms of like a disease model, the earlier we can intervene, the more chance that person is going to be able to succeed and recover from that condition.
You also do psychiatry, and I take it that's your area, doctor.
Well, so I do a lot of psychological testing, but I think one of the really valuable things about Catalpa is that you can get therapy, the traditional individual therapy or group therapy, but you can also have somebody involved in the medical management of your medication for anxiety or depression or something like that. So that comprehensive nature of what we do is important. And I do think that when we think about psychology and specifically psychological testing, it's something that parents struggle to receive. There is a definite bottleneck in terms of availability of psychological testing and evaluation for children. And I would say, just as one example, we can reliably diagnose an autism spectrum disorder at 12 months or age or even younger. The average age of diagnosis in this country is 4.5. And when you think about the intervention that could have been provided to help those children bridge the gap between themselves and their developmentally or chronologically same age peers, we're missing out. And we need to get these kids diagnosed if there is an issue going on. When parents or teachers refer a child to Catalpa, it's because they see something's not quite right. It may not be a diagnosable mental health clinician. It may be something very minor. But on the other hand, it could be something a little more significant for that child. And so offering that service of getting your psych testing done, getting into therapy, whether it's telehealth, school, or in our office, whether it's group or individual, and then being able to, if your condition warrants it, have the psychiatric medication management piece involved all in one place is really nice for parents and kids. A lot of interdisciplinary collaboration, which is important to success.
We are back with much more with Catalpa and families and kids and mental health. Stay right there. Our topic this morning, mental health treatment for kids. With us is Catalpa Chief Clinical Officer Scott Radke and President and CEO Dr. Tracy Gayu. Folks, what do you say to the parent out there who may be hesitant to call you? They see something that may be wrong with their kid, but in the back of their head they're going, oh, but my child couldn't have any mental health issues. What do you say to those folks who are thinking maybe there's something wrong here?
Yeah, I think there still is a lot of stigma around mental health issues versus physical health issues, right? I mean, if a child needs glasses, parents don't feel responsible for that in a way that they feel guilty. But with mental health issues, I think there's a sense of maybe judgment, or maybe I'm doing something wrong as a parent, and as a result of that, my child is having these difficulties. So, helping parents understand that mental health issues are health issues like anything else, and we need to treat them the same. So if your child is having a sleep issue, if they're having like difficulties with, walking and needing physical therapy, or any other mental health issues, it's all the same. It's really important that we get kids connected to those that can provide that evaluation and treatment if necessary.
Are you seeing an increase in the need? Has your business gone up?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott's been with Catalpa for over 8 years, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. And I think on one hand, it's a good thing, because I see with youth and kids today, the stigma with them is less. Mm-hmm. They're willing to talk about mental health issues. They're willing to be more open, which is wonderful. And I think the second thing is we're all doing as a community a better job raising these issues up, like you're doing today, Tom, with us. Mm-hmm. So people can understand these are issues. It's important to talk about them and to put light on them. So that certainly is helping bring that out. At the same time, as Tracy alluded to, I'll do presentations and I'll ask adults, how many of you would like to relive your childhood in today's world? And no one raises their hand, right? I mean, despite all the advantages we have with technology and the world at our fingertips, everyone recognizes that the world is very complex and much more complex. And kids are dealing with that. They're living their lives in this. But I will say that kids are incredibly resilient, and we know if we can get them the help they need, they will recover.
Yeah, Tracy mentioned earlier when we were giving away our age, this stuff didn't happen when we were kids. Yeah. Why is it happening now? What didn't exist back when that these kids are now dealing with?
Well, I think the world is just becoming a smaller place, right?
Yeah.
So we have access to real-time information about what's happening with everyone in our school in a way we might not have had when we were kids.
Right, Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
We might have access to what's going on in our community, real-time information throughout our world. If you extend that out, it gives children more to worry about, I think, just generally. Mm-hmm. And then I think that children no longer have a break from the world. So it used to be that when we would come home, we would have dinner and we'd watch TV or play games with our family, right? So our network was our family. That was our family time. And these days, children are exposed to the rest of the world, the rest of their community, all their peers, 24/7. So they can see on one of their social media apps that they're home alone, but all of the people they consider to be their friends are somewhere else together. And that can lead to feelings of loneliness that they have access to information that might enhance that or make some of those issues a bit more problematic.
Yeah, changing times. We are back to wrap up with Catalpa right after this, so please stay with us. Back now to wrap up with Catalpa Mental Health. We've got some big dates coming up for Catalpa. First of all, what you call your POP event.
Yes, it's our signature fundraising event. So thinking back to some of those children who have either no insurance or are on Medicaid and are very underinsured, or even for families that have a commercial health insurance plan, but in January the deductible is $5,000, and how do you pay for that unexpectedly, right? Yeah. We hold a fundraising event on September 14th, and it is called POP. You can find information about it on our website. And it's really where the community comes together to ensure that the community we live in is supportive of the children we're raising. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think then we've got a couple of other dates that Scott
some other dates. You've got May 6th to the 24th is your Be the Change Drive. What's
right,
that about?
So this is an opportunity for the community to join with us and as a fundraising event to bring light to these issues. It's a period of time where people can learn about Catalpa Health, come to our website, and they can find information about that event.
Then we go to May the 16th, Be Seen in Green for Mental Health Action Day.
That's right. If you've ever worried about your child and their mental health, if you've ever struggled with mental health issues yourself, get out there and show your support for mental health awareness. Wear some green on that day.
I think a lot of people in this area have some green that they can put on.
That's true.
I wonder why. And you've got May 22nd, the second annual Coffee at Catalpa. And when I say second annual, how did that start?
Well, it really started because I wanted to connect with our community more, and our Director of Development, Cindy Summer, arranged this time that we could have with members of our community. Just come on in, have some coffee. If you have questions about what you may or may not be worried about, if you have questions about the services we offer or how you might be able to support us offering those services, come on in, have some coffee with us. We can chat.
All right, you mentioned how they can support you. How does a family in need of your services contact you and support you?
Well, they contact us by calling us or sending in a form on the website that they need some help. But if they want to support us or support the notion that we need to support the children in our community, or for organizations that have nothing to do with children, if your employees are worried about their kids at home, they're not doing their best at work for you. And we have a lot of manufacturing organizations around here. So if you want to support us, come to our Signature Pop event, get on the phone, ask for me. I'd happily come out. We have resources we can give for organizations. We're here.
All right, we're going to wrap it up with that. Scott, Doctor, thanks so much for being with us today. And if you have a newsmaker in your town you think ought to be on this program, let us know about it. Send us an email to tips@wearegreenbay.com. Until then, we'll see you again Sunday morning at 7:30. Have a great day.